Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is William Halling. Mr. William, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. And also, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. Firstly, your mission is to empower individuals to turn the page and create a better future as a coach as well. Can you please, Mr. William, discuss more about how you're doing currently now, Mr. William?
Well, thank you. Actually from the Michigan Department of Corrections, where I worked as an officer, supervisor, a sergeant. I went to probation parole. I have a lot of experience working with people involved with the criminal justice system and wanting to change their lives. So when I retired, moved to Florida, I created a program to help bridge the gap between traditional programming, treatment, and supervision, to help individuals that are involved in the criminal justice system have the tools to get out of the criminal justice system, not just complete their sentence, but to truly make a difference, to change their thinking, their behavior, their actions, so they get out of the cycle of criminal justice involvement.
Very much huge because in the life we find ourselves in the point of the criminal justice perspective, there are a lot that need to also be built up and also become more better. And your mission to actually empower people to come out and also become more better is very much profoundly impactful as well. And also, Mr. Williams, I would like to know if you've written any book, Mr. William. Have you written any book or are you also planning to write any book in the coming future, Mr. William?
I have recently wrote a book. It is called 12 Weeks to a New Chapter. It is a book that was created not only for the individual on probation, parole, or going through the reentry process, but also designed for the professional that work with them, for the probation, parole officer, the corrections officer, the case manager, treatment providers. They can utilize that book, work with the justice involved individual, and you know, build on the tools they need to, again, they say, start a new chapter in their lives. None of our stories have been completed yet, and there's always opportunity to improve and get better.
No matter what we pass through, no matter how the things is very huge, there is still hope, despite how tough it is. And that is why I am so glad with the book you published that will give people more enlightenment in that perspective as well. And also, I would like to drive to the point of listeners who feel worn down by repeated challenges. They feel so much challenge that it comes constantly and repeated as well. What do you think it really means to build resilience that lasts rather than just learning how to keep pushing through, Mr. William?
To build resilience at last, my experience has been, cherish the small victories. I think as people, we think that for whatever reason, we're not successful until we get to the top of the mountain. But taking that first step, on the path to get to the top of the mountain is success. You know, uh, I just met with a client the other day, and this individual spent many years in prison. And one of the first things I mentioned to this individual was, you successfully completed your term of incarceration. She took the first step to get to the top of the mountain, and looked at that. And a lot of people involved in the criminal justice system don't think of getting out of jail, getting out of prison, being placed on probation, parole, are successes, but they truly are. You've accomplished something that was very difficult, and you're moving forward. You're not going back. As long as you're moving forward, climbing that mountain, you build that resilience to remain successful.
Completely agree. I sincerely appreciate you for the great insight, Mr. William. It shows that despite every single thing that we actually bring through, the challenges, there are actually ways we can try to build up this resilience, to build up the sense of hope, despite how tough the life or also the challenge could be. And also, Mr. William, I would like to also drive to the point of setback because setback is also one of the greatest challenges that also goes along the way, Mr. Williams. So, how do you think someone can recover from setback in a way that deepens their resilience without hardening their hearts or losing their sense of hope, Mr. Williams?
So, you know, we have to look at setbacks as not failures. You know, when I was working with in the corrections field, I had many people that had setbacks. Setbacks is a part of growth. When we learn to ride a bike, we fall. It's a setback. We get back on the bike and we ride again. That's all a setback is. A setback is an opportunity to learn and to grow, and you can build resilience from that. So you know, as I tell people that come to see me, or even I would tell people when I was supervising them on probation or parole, you know, we don't expect perfection. We expect you to brush yourself off and continue down the road to recovery or freedom or whatever your goal is, because setbacks are part of life and they're learning tools that we can all use.
Thank you so much. You've made it more understandable that setback is a tool for growth. And from the experience, despite we are unhurt, setback will be something that will always pass through despite the challenges we find ourselves. It is a way for us to grow and also for us to come back more stronger to also learn from every difficulties that also come along the way. So I sincerely appreciate you for the great insight in that perspective, Mr. Williams. And also, Mr. Williams, I would also like to drive to the point of difference. The difference between temporary coping and the kind of resilience that actually lead to long-term stability. So, how do you think listeners can recognize the difference between temporary coping and kind of resilience that actually leads to long-term growth and stability, Mr. Williams?
So temporary coping, you know, that a lot of times, in my opinion, is just a defensive mechanism to deal with a setback. But to have long-term resilience, it's about learning. So taking that setback, learning from it, internalizing it, you know, figuring out what led to the setback, knowing that that's there, whatever that obstacle may be, learning to navigate it and move forward. If you just cope with a setback, you're not going to learn from it, because that setback, that problem will be you're going to face again in the future. So it's and that's the difference between resilience and coping. Coping is an immediate response to a situation. Resilience is learning to grow from that situation, that setback, and build on it.
Exactly. Thank you so much for the bit of the difference. Now we understand how resilience can go in points that actually lead to long-term growth. It goes back for us to do something that actually comes out constantly. It is a growth that comes within us. So for us to have this kind of resilience, it has to continue in a very long term. And also, Mr. William, I would like to drive to the point of habits, daily habits you think one can also build on. I do understand that we are all different beings and we also have different body and also abilities and capabilities as well. But from the little experience you've had, Mr. Williams, what do you think are some of the daily habits, mindset shifts, or support system that help people build resilience that carry them through both personal and professional challenges, Mr. William?
So I think one of the habits that will help build success is creating victories for yourself, creating little victories. It's going to build your confidence. It's going to help strengthen your resolve. And one of the easiest things to do, the easiest victories that a person can have, um, get up, make the bed. I've heard that. You know, uh, when I was in the military, I heard it through different leadership conferences I've been to. Start your day with a victory. If that victory is you made your bed today, that's a victory. Build on that. Create different habits throughout the day that are going to build your resilience, build your confidence, build your character. Take a time out. We are lucky to live in a world today where almost everybody has a smart device or some device on them. You could set a reminder. You can set a daily affirmation where you take a break from the stresses of life, have a habit where you have a daily affirmation, something to help de-stress. In the day on a positive note. Don't go to bed angry. Don't go to bed upset. Don't go to bed frustrated. Go to bed with a clear mind, whether that's through meditation, whether that's through prayer, whether that's through talking to, going back to my days in the military, we had battle buddies, somebody that you could count on. I had a partner that I worked with when I was a probation officer. Somebody that you can talk to, or a spouse or significant other that you can, share and de-stress from the day, talk about your victories, and create that habit, healthy living, healthy eating, making the bed, some type of exercise, some type of prayer, meditation, something, that's personal that you can help you center and de-stress. Those are all vital to healthy life changes and, growth.
Thank you so much. You made a very powerful point. Despite how different we are, creating victories, looking for people we look up to, looking at people we rely to. These are very huge, important things as we humans that we can build upon in our daily life because our life is based on nature. As we humans, we are more connected in point of nature, and if we can try our best to build a life, to build a kind of capability for us to be in the position to create more wins for ourselves, it puts us in a position whereby we build a sense of resilience, we build a sense of strength. Despite the setback, we always have that sense of hope that we are going to come back up again. And that is the real strength that we need, not the one that will make us traumatized, the one that will make us more hope, and also people that we can also look up to. So from the experience and also insight, your experience in the military and other perspective, I sincerely appreciate you for the great insights. Mr. William, I would also like to drive to people who also or who want to also stay open to growth and possibility. How do you think someone stay open to growth and possibility even after disappointment, failure, or painful changes that have shaken their confidence? Mr. Williams.
So if we look at things that have shaken individuals' confidence and how can they build from it, we all have barriers to success. All of us. We all have something that is going to stand in our way and prevent us from being the person we want to be or doing whatever it is we want to do. There's always that barrier. When we face that barrier, it can be overwhelming. How do I get around this barrier? How do I get through this barrier? But if we take that barrier and we start breaking it down piece by piece, um, whatever it is that if it's self-confidence, if it's involvement in the criminal justice system, if it's unemployment, if it's finances, whatever it is, that barrier, you start breaking that down, chopping that down, what you'll end up with, instead of a big boulder of a barrier, you'll end up with rocks. And you can use those rocks to build the steps, to move forward, to get on top of that mountain and to be successful. It's using those barriers as learning opportunities to move forward and not looking at that barrier as overwhelming, as an obstacle you can't get through. Because um, as human beings, we have very strong resilience. We were designed to be resilient, to overcome obstacles. Look at where we are as a society, and how much we have grown. Barriers and obstacles we face all the time, and yet we go through them. So that's how you have to address a barrier: is I see it, I address it. What can I start chipping away at? And now using those little chips, those rocks from that big boulder to build your steps to move forward.
Mhm. Sometimes it might not be easy, and that is the beauty of the life we find ourselves, to be honest, Mr. Williams, because when a pressure has gotten to a state, because we are as humans, we have something that we call boundaries. It's something that it can get to. Every single person know where emotion can get when it gets overloaded, and that thing now gets to a point whereby it is unbearable. It comes with a point of reaction, and that is the point that we have to try our best to build on. And I love the way you actually brought more enlightenment to that perspective, because it is always not easy. But that is also the point for us to also see how we can shift and also build on that with the experience you've also brought to the table. So I sincerely appreciate that insight. Mr. William, I would just like to drive to the point of message also, because I would like this episode to be something that people can hold on to, a very powerful message you would like to give to them as well. For listeners who could be listening to this episode and is still wondering whether they still have the strength to rise again, they question themselves: is it still possible? I'm down, I'm drained, what should I do? What would you want them to remember about resilience, healing, and lasting inner renewal, Mr. William?
Well, I want people to realize, and that's kind of the reason why I chose the name of my business that I did, New Chapter Life Coaching, is because every day is a new chapter. Every day we have been given a gift to start anew. The sun sets, the sun rises. We have that ability to build on our strengths, to face our challenges, and work on it every day. There is, I mean, we don't know what day will be our last day, but every day that we wake up, we have the ability to fight uh, for what we believe in, to work on our weaknesses, to build on our strengths, and to give ourselves hope and resilience to deal with whatever life throws at us. Because you know, we are all going to be dealt with challenges every single day. There have been days I've woken up and thought this is going to be a perfect day, and then the car doesn't start, and then this happens and that happens. Well, instead of looking at that as a defeat, how can I overcome that? What other tools do I have to build upon to circumvent that challenge? And because we have this thing called sleep to end our day, it gives us that opportunity to renew ourselves every day, and just again to start with that small victory. You may have had a terrible day. Things may not have gone great. You've encountered obstacles and setbacks and defeats. You, if you are willing to wake up the next morning, you can start your day with a victory, and now you're off on your right foot. Little things build resilience and hope, and look at the victories that you've had and build on them. Don't focus on. We need to be aware of our setbacks. We need to be aware of the things that challenge us, but our focus needs to be on what have I completed, what were my victories, and then that builds again resilience.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williams. As you said, sometimes what we expect or what we thought is going to happen isn't going to happen. Sometimes we might wake up and feel like this is the best day ever and something just goes wrong. And that is the beauty of the life we find ourselves. That is why we have to continue to build a sense of resilience and also hope as well to become more better, to become more stronger. Because if there is no hope, we do not want to get to the point whereby we build on anxiety, depression, and do what we are not meant to do, which could lead us to somewhere that we do not want to be, where we would not even like at all. And we now
Yeah.
live a life of regret. We don't want to get to that certain point. Despite how tight and tough this life is, we should try our best to build that emotion. We are not taught in school. We know that. We are not taught in, we're not, probably some parents, we're not even taught this with some parents. It is something that we have to sit down and learn within ourselves as humans. And I sincerely appreciate you with the brief message, the brief information that we've actually gathered today for people to learn, to get impacted and also grow as well. Mr. William, there is also a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing will be, Mr. Williams?
I think would be a greater sense of community and involvement with our fellow human being. I think social media and technology is wonderful, but I also believe it's taken away from normal human contact. And as humans, we need positive contacts with fellow human beings. Not only does it allow us to broaden our minds, our thoughts, our knowledge. But we need that. We are designed to be social, and social in the sense of, shaking another human being's hand, giving another person a hug for, to support them, talking to people face to face, and not through chat and phone calls and all these other things. If I could bring anything back, that would be one of the things, because I believe that builds senses of community. It's harder to hate somebody when you know them. It's easy to hate somebody when they're a meme or just a picture on a Facebook page. When you sit down with somebody, even somebody that you may not agree with for multiple reasons, but you sit down and you meet them and you talk to them, you can't. It makes it difficult to hate them. We're designed to love one another and to take care of one another. And I think, as a society, I would like to see us focus more on that aspect of what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to help and work with each other, um, in person, and sit down across the table from somebody and have conversations to broaden our knowledge, and to strengthen us as a people across the world.
Completely agree with you, Mr. Williams. Face to face physical connection is the greatest source to healing. You said it. If I know one better and I understand this person better, it is difficult for me to hate such person. And that is the beauty of human connection. We are able to build that sense of connection with the sense of ourselves, the touching and everything, which can create a very deep sense of humanity. Two, it also makes us to be in the position to create people who align with our values. There is nothing more beautiful in the life we find ourselves if we have physical connection with people who align with what we actually value in our life. It just makes our life more easier. It makes us feel a whole. It makes us more happier. These are one of the greatest source of resilience for us to actually get back up despite the pain and setback that we find in our life. And also, Mr. William, I want to thank you for the opportunity, the time you gave to me for us to have this profound and insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak about this.
All right, Mr. Williams. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Williams. Bye bye.
You too. Take care.